oh my God, with this kind of resume, you will never get a job. If that's something you've heard before, then stay till the end of the video because I got some good news for you. Hey, welcome. This is Konrad from Thinking Beyond AI, and I want to start this with a personal story. So, my former mother-in-law, at least when she wasn't busy terrorizing the villagers or breathing fire in her dragon's lair, was some sort of an HR person, matchmaker, headhunter, whatever you want to call it. And she always told me, Rob, with your CV, you will never get a proper job in Switzerland because the Swiss, they value consistency, they value an industry focus. And what you are doing, jumping around from starting a company every 2 or 3 years, starting something new, working different industries, no one likes that. And that's not good. Never mind the fact that I never actually wanted to get a proper job in a proper industry. And I much rather prefer to start something new every 2 or 3 years if there's a new industry, if there's something that interests me, or if I just feel it's time to start something new. Never mind the fact that I actually did work in some traditional industries on an executive level for several years. And while it wasn't really what fulfills me, it wasn't really what's my ultimate desire, I made some great experience in there. Never mind all these things. That kind of worldview really isn't applicable anymore in this day and age, especially in the age of AI. So what I want to do today is I want to talk about why traditional resumes don't actually matter anymore. And I will actually create two videos, one taking the perspective of the employer and the other one of the employee, because I think it's interesting to listen to both of these perspectives. And yeah, what I want to talk about today is essentially why this old paradigm of what makes a good resume from like 25 years ago isn't really relevant anymore. What were the three shifts that actually killed the traditional resume? What matters now? And how you as a person can reframe your chaotic career or your chaotic resume and turn it into something very positive. Okay, now what made resumes different 25 years ago than they are today? So first of all, the old paradigm was in a way stability equals reliability. So if you were with the same company for like 10 years, that showed that you were a loyal person, that you were a loyal employee. There was a clear linear progression to up the career ladder. In certain positions, you need certain seniority in your business. Knowledge or experience was often less relevant than the time you were actually sitting on a chair. If you had any gaps in your resume, in your CV, in your life, those were typically red flags for the HR department. God forbid you had any career changes because that was quite suspicious. And this made a certain sense back in the days because if you think about it, we had quite slow moving industries. We had industries where deep institutional knowledge was very valuable. We were at a time where training employees was typically done in person. It was very expensive, and companies actually lasted way longer than today. Companies sometimes last for generations, and this was a different frame than we have today. And what changed until today is we had three major shifts that actually completely killed the traditional CV as we know it, the traditional resume as we know it. The first shift that we've been seeing is the speed of change. So what beats stability today is adaptability. In the past, as I told you, we had industries that were transforming maybe every 30 years. Now we have industries which are transforming every 3 to 5 years, maybe at max. And to give you one example, my first original traditional background where I originally made my master's degree is in marketing, services, communications management. And that's a field that's absolutely unrecognizable from 5 years ago, never mind 20 years ago. It's been since I made my master's degree. And it has completely changed. You know, we have TikTok, we have social media, things that didn't exist a couple of years ago. And even now, there's something new coming up every few years that often completely reshapes the whole industry. And companies need people who learn fast and who can adapt fast. And if you have an inconsistent CV, what does it show us? It actually shows us that you are comfortable with change, that you are good at adapting to new environments, that you are good at adapting to new situations. And that's actually a strength that you can have and that you can show. Shift number two that we've been seeing is that now with the advent of AI, AI essentially handles most of the specialist work. AI is much better at depth in very narrow domains. So you will never beat AI at sorting through millions of documents and analyzing certain areas in a certain specific field or doing repetitive tasks. These are the things where AI absolutely is better than us as humans. What humans are better at, what humans are great at, is we are great at connecting dots across domains. So if you have a weird combination of different skills, different skill sets, that's actually your edge. Because, if you know a little bit about sales and then you worked in coding and when you worked in design, you can be the AI orchestrator, right? You can be the one who understands how all the different bits and pieces in one industry actually fit together. And you can be the one orchestrating these tools. And you can be the one orchestrating the AI to achieve the goals much faster and to achieve the goals with much more clarity and at lower costs. And so essentially from the traditional, T-shaped professional, which had very deep domain expertise and then a little bit of a wider experience connecting industries. And what we're going to see is these, I want to call them like comb-shaped professionals, where yes, you have a lot of experience. It's in different fields. It might be also quite narrow, but it all belongs together, right? You can make the connection between all these different fields. And that's the interesting part. The third shift that we've been seeing is companies are actually projects now. So they're not careers, they're projects. The average company lifespan has dropped quite dramatically. We seeing startups become super big within 2 or 3 years, then disappearing completely. Even stable companies, they pivot constantly. They change the market focus, they change their markets. And so experience with building, with pivoting, with starting over now is the most relevant skill. Because what's going to be important is how do we survive uncertainty? And if you've shown to do that, you're the person who can be valuable in this new environment. So the question, of course, is what actually matters now? So first of all, I believe that portfolio beats the resume. So what you've built, what you've shipped is actually way more important than the different stops in your career over the past 10, 15, 20, whatever years. What really is important is your network. What really is important is your reputation. So what are the real product references? If you're the greatest expert in a company and have been working for 20 years in the company, and no one knows your name and no one knows what you were doing, and you're just regarded as that one trick pony, that's over, right? We are past that point. Now it's important that you have a wide network, you can connect different industries, you have a reputation in different industries, and that's really great. With regards to building and shipping, if you are in more technical areas, being able to demonstrate your skill and having a track record of stuff that you can demonstrate, whether it's if you're a programmer, software developer, whether you have programs in GitHub, whether you have some case studies that you can show for, whether we have some projects that you created even outside of your industry or even outside of your professional environment. That's very, very important. And what's also very important is the story cohesion, right? So it doesn't matter that you changed industries. It doesn't matter that you changed your job a few times. It doesn't matter that you experimented with things, as long as you can sell that story cohesively, right? Because there is a reason why we change things. I know in my case, I started some companies and the companies were not going badly or anything, but I just had a bigger opportunity. So I started something new and kind of let the old company just fizzle out because there was more in it and there was more that was financially in it. There was more that was interesting for me. And I can explain these things. I mean, they would look horrible on a traditional CV, yes, but there is a story behind it. If I can tell that story compellingly, that's not a big issue. And finally is what's very important, one of the probably most important skill sets and signals at the same time is your learning velocity. So how fast can you pick up new tools? How fast can you pick up new skills? And how fast can you prove and demonstrate that you can implement these new skills and tools that you have? So in essence, if you are someone who has this chaotic, unemployable, inconsistent CV, you need to reframe it. You need to reframe the chaos and turn it into your advantage. So don't say or don't get shamed into a position of you bounced around. It's like, no, 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 no. I've pattern matched across different industries. Don't say I have gaps or I have inconsistencies. Say I shipped independent projects. Say I strategically adapted to certain environments or to new ideas. Don't say you're a job hopper. Say you are a fast learner who seeks growth, who needs new challenges, who needs new environments. And that's perfectly fine. So there is a caveat to all of this, which is I'm fully aware that this applies mostly to, let's say, quote unquote, white collar jobs. So in the tech, creative fields, startups, and companies, because there are a lot of traditional industries, whether it's medicine, whether it's law, whether it's the government, where yes, people are still looking for these linear paths. But if you are in any of those industries, then you probably noticed already. And if you don't like that, then it's time to change your industry. And what we see is that even within these traditional industries, we start to see change. Whether it's medicine, whether it's law, we see a movement, we see new jobs coming up, we see opportunities coming up. So that is not a big deal. So what's important for you is that you know your audience, you understand what they're looking for, and that you don't undersell yourself. That's the critical point. So the bottom line is messy is not only the new normal, messy is often the advantage for you. So what you need to do is you need to take action. You need to take action. You need to take ownership. You need to stop apologizing for career changes. You need to reframe your resume with a narrative thread. You need to show adaptability as your personal superpower. And you need to develop a portfolio that shows that you can actually demonstrate real skills that you can ship, that you can actually execute. And that's going to be the most important part. And I want to leave you with a final thought, which is in an era where companies need to reinvent themselves every 2 or 3 years, why would they even want someone who's only ever known one thing and who's only ever known one way of doing things whatsoever? So with that in mind, if you like this video, then please subscribe for more videos on how to AI-proof your career.